Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving into a seriously fascinating piece of ancient Indian literature, a famous tale from the Panchatantra. And look, this isn't just some old kid's fable about animals. It's actually an incredibly profound, brilliant framework for problem solving and modern crisis management. Whether you're running a massive business, leading a small team, or honestly, just navigating your own everyday life, the insights packed into this explainer are absolute gold. So, let's jump right in.
Now I want you to just stop and think about this for a second. What do you do when trouble is right in front of you? Like when a major crisis is staring you right in the face, what's your default reaction? Do you freeze up like a deer in headlights, or do your gears instantly start turning to find a way out? Do you panic, or do you pivot? This centuries-old story makes this deeply personal question the entire focus of its narrative, and it really forces us to examine our own instincts under pressure.
Section 1. A lake, 3 fishes.
So, our story kicks off at a super calm, serene lake. And living in this lake are 3 fish who happen to be best friends. But here's what makes this so brilliant. These aren't just random fish. They represent 3 distinct psychological archetypes that literally exist in all of us. First up, we've got Anagatavidhata. In Sanskrit, this beautifully translates to the visionary, or the one who foresees the future. Her whole deal is proactive foresight. She doesn't wait for the storm to hit, you know? She sees it brewing from miles away and prepares well before it ever arrives. Think of her as your ultimate proactive risk manager in the corporate world. She's the leader who spots market shifts early and builds a solid plan B while everyone else is just comfortable.
Next, we meet our second friend, Pratyutpannamati. Now this translates to presence of mind. This archetype is the absolute embodiment of sharp, on-the-spot adaptability. She's your ultimate crisis responder, the kind of person who just thrives under sudden pressure. She might not plan years in advance, actually scratch that, she probably doesn't even have a contingency spreadsheet. But when a crisis strikes, she definitely doesn't freeze. She reacts incredibly fast, using her cleverness in the exact moment of danger to find an out. She's basically the startup founder who radically pivots the entire business model overnight just to survive a changing market. And finally, there's Yadbhavishya, the fatalist. Her approach to life's challenges is, well, completely passive. Her name essentially means whatever will be, will be. She fully surrenders her agency, believing she has absolutely zero control over her destiny, so she just leaves it all up to fate. In today's world, this is the company that totally ignores massive technological shifts, just crossing their fingers and hoping the disruption blows over. It's the pure psychology of denial.
Section 2. Arrival of the fishermen.
Okay, so everything is perfectly peaceful at the lake, until our inciting incident happens. Suddenly, a group of fishermen walk by carrying these heavy nets, and they pause to look down at the crystal clear water. This is where the tension truly ramps up. They look in and say, wow, this lake is full of fish. It's evening now, but tomorrow morning we'll come back, cast our net, and catch them all. That quote right there is absolutely critical. It establishes a strict, unavoidable deadline. The threat is literally looming over the lake, and every single fish heard the terrifying news. The clock is officially ticking. Kind of like a sudden economic downturn or a massive deadline unexpectedly dropping on your desk.
Moving on to Section 3. 3 fishes, 3 strategies.
Okay, let's dive into this and see how these underlying philosophies actually translate into action when the pressure is on. The fisherman's threat immediately puts our 3 archetypes to the ultimate test. First up, Anagatavidhata, the visionary. She doesn't waste a single second. She immediately warns her friends about the impending doom. And true to her nature, she doesn't even wait for the sun to rise. She acts before the crisis can hit its peak impact, executing her escape plan and evacuating to a totally different, safer lake that very same night. She essentially trades her immediate comfort for long-term security.
Now, in stark contrast, let's look at what Yadbhavishya, the fatalist, does. She completely surrenders to fate. Instead of trying to escape or at least making some kind of backup plan, she just retreats into the deepest part of the lake, hides, and hopes for the best. It's a completely passive response to a 100% guaranteed threat. It's literally the equivalent of burying your head in the sand because you're paralyzed by the fear of inevitable change.
Section 4. When the net was cast.
Then comes the terrifying reality of the next morning. The sun comes up, and just as they promised, the fishermen return. The deadline is here, the trap is set, and time is officially up. They throw their heavy nets into the water. So what about our second fish? How does Pratyutpannamati handle being caught? With unbelievable presence of mind under immense pressure, she purposefully floats upside down, totally pretending to be dead. The fishermen are completely fooled. They pull her out of the net and just toss her aside onto the ground.
The very second they turn their backs to grab the other fish, she springs back to life, jumps right back into the water, and escapes. I mean, it's an absolutely brilliant, almost funny survival tactic. That is rapid crisis response in action, using your immediate environment to your absolute advantage.
But the story takes a really tragic turn for Yad. Since the fishermen couldn't find enough fish near the surface, they decided to drag their nets to the absolute deepest corners of the lake. And of course, that is exactly where our fatalist was hiding. By leaving everything to fate, she meets a tragic, inevitable outcome and gets captured. Because avoiding a problem doesn't make it magically disappear, right? It usually just leaves you in the most vulnerable position possible when the net inevitably sweeps the bottom.
Section 5. What is true intelligence?
And this brilliantly illustrates our main practical takeaway for today. If we move past the literal story of the fish, what does this ancient text actually tell us about true intelligence? Well, let's look at our three archetypes side by side. The visionary used proactive preparation, and she survived. The fish with presence of mind was reactive and clever, and she also survived. But the fatalist, who relied entirely on passive denial, she perished. The success rate here heavily favors action over inaction.
So, the absolutely crucial point here is this: survival and success require action. The ultimate moral of this Panchatantra tale is that true intelligence means either having the extreme foresight to prepare for trouble way beforehand, or having the extreme adaptability to use quick wit when it actually strikes. What you can never, ever do is rely purely on fate. In an unpredictable world, hoping for the best is just not a strategy. You either need to be looking far over the horizon, or you need to stay incredibly light on your feet.
I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder. As you step away from this explainer and face your own life's obstacles, take a hard look at your own problem-solving mindset. For your next big challenge, which fish will you choose to be? Thanks so much for joining me today on this journey through ancient wisdom, and I'll catch you next time.